My next guest grew up in Dallas, then flexed his musical muscles on stage and screen before hitting it big, recording an album called Bat Out of Hell. That's 1976. Meatloaf has sold more than 43 million copies of that album. He won a Grammy Award for the song I'd Do Anything for Love in 1994 and has appeared more than 55 times in movies and television productions, including the Rocky Horror Picture Show and Fight Club. He is now gearing up for a 24-date show in Las Vegas. Meatloaf joins me now. Thank you very much for coming in.
You know what? Thank you for that. That was one of the best intros ever because you started off with the acting on stage and screen before.
Well,
you're absolutely true, but most people never go there. They always go with Bat Out of Hell and selling records.
So let's back all the way up as far as you want to go, because we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, well, we can go back to hair.
Please, go ahead.
And hair, I can't. That's how when I first came to New York.
What year? What are we talking about?
December of 1969.
Okay.
And I started hair on Broadway. And that
was the winter Joe Namath took the Jets.
That's exactly
to the Super Bowl.
That's right.
And
I
won
just have never done a pantyhose commercial.
Okay, well,
like Joe. So I'm aging myself, but Joe understands. And my joke is they paid me $12.50 a week extra not to do the nude scene because they wanted people to stay in the theater for the second act. So anyway, we go past that. But then it was right after that we went back. We signed with Motown. And that was the first recording, was Motown. We had first release in 1971 on Motown, under the banner of Stoney and Meatloaf. And we put out a song called What You See Is What You Get. And it got to number 11 on the R&B charts. And then a group called The Dramatics kind of copied it and covered it, and they had the big hit with it. So there you go.
So they had the hit with your song.
Well, they kind of stole the song.
Okay. That happens?
You think?
Yeah, right. So then what? What goes on next?
And then I went down and started working for Joe Papp at the Public Theater. And
in Lower Manhattan.
Lower Manhattan, and that's
created the Shakespeare, right? The Shakespeare Festival.
But that's where I met Jim Steinman. I met Jim Steinman there.
What were you doing at the Public Theater?
Well, I got an agent. I knew Raul Julia. And Raul Julius, they said to me, you need to get an agent. And I had this agent come. I had done an off-Broadway show called Rainbow. And they said, you need to have an agent if you're going to make it in New York. I said, okay. So I knew Raul. Raul said, well, I'm going to get my agent to come down. So he came down. He called me back up. His name was Jeff Hunter. To make a long story short, he said, do you have 8x10s? I said, no. He said, well, you need 8x10. So I went down to Arcade down on Broadway and went into that little photo booth.
Right. But they
took 4 pictures for $25 and picked out the best one, went next door and got 100 for $4.99. And went over to Jeff Hunter, and Jeff Hunter sent me down to the Public Theater. Said, if you're going to be anything in New York, you have to work for Joe Papp. So I went down there and I walked in this room, and sitting in the room was Jim Steinman, who we've done Bat Out of Hell with, Bat Out of Hell 2, songs on Bat 3. Now we got songs on the new album from Jimmy. And I don't do concise answers, so if you're expecting that, forget it. So I sang a song for Jim Steinman called I'd Love to Be as Heavy as Jesus. And Jimmy stopped and got up and started walking out of the room. And he stopped and he looked at me and he said, oh, by the way, you're as heavy as 3 Jesuses. And left. He said, I'll be right back. And he brought back Joe Papp and this army of people. And I proceeded to start singing again. And Joe stopped me and said, I want you to go over in this other room with this fellow and learn this chorus of this song. Come back in. So I went over, learned it. It wasn't very quick then, but I learned it. Came back in. I got about 3 lines out. Joe goes, okay. And he handed me a script. And it was the first time I've ever been handed a script. And he says, I want you to go home. I want you to read this. And he wrote on the outside cover, he said, there's the soldiers, and he wrote down the soldiers. And he said, pick out which soldier you best relate to. So I read the script, and I had no idea what was a good script and what was a bad script. So I called up a friend of mine who was a director. And I said, I just got handed a script. He said, from where? I said, from the Public Theater and Joe Papp. He said, Joe Papp actually handed it to you? I said, yes. He goes, oh, well, okay. I said, but I don't know if it's good or not. He goes, well, did you read it all at one time? I said, yeah. He said, were you offended by it? I said, well, yeah, there are parts that were offensive. He said, was it so offensive you wouldn't do it? I said, no. He said, was it funny? I said, yeah, it's really funny. It made me laugh. He said, then it's a good script. I said, okay. And he said, but they want me to pick a character I relate to. And so he goes, which one was that? I said, a guy who's a heroin addict who blows up people with hand grenades. He goes, then that's your role. And that's what I did, and his name was Rabbit. And I used that character, and the reason I'm going on about it is because I used that character to open the show in Vegas.
That is a round trip.
Yeah. So, and he talks like this, and in Vegas he goes, no, because we do a song, and then
because this is part of the 24-date tour.
We did it before. We
not
did
tour,
18.
but
yeah,
where's
it? Don't say
no,
tour.
I beg your pardon.
Residency.
Residency at where? Just so we give the details.
The Planet Hollywood.
The Planet Hollywood in Las Vegas. When does it start?
It starts February 13th and runs till April. Well, right now.
February 13th
till April 8th. Right now.
Till April 8th.
Right
and
now.
It's right now.
Yeah.
And you never know. Right? I mean, if
it does well, yeah, I'm not supposed to talk about that.
All right, but and there's a whole theme to the show, and you know, how long is this show? Is this like a 90-minute? What is that?
Well, it's supposed to be, but I don't know how to do 90 minutes. We had a show following us before, and we went. I ran till. We went on at 7:30. They were supposed to go on at 9:30, and one night we went on till 9:26. So I don't know, because it's improv. And it's like, if I get going, my Indian name is never shuts up, as you can tell, and I'm not concise. So I tend to ramble and run off.
All right. We're going to continue the conversation.
Okay.
I want to get your thoughts about the Grammys. Did you watch them last night?
No.
No? But you know all about them.
I watched the pro football.
Oh, all right. Well, we'll talk about the Super Bowl. Why not? We've got more. Meatloaf. More. Next. All right.
First, Bloomberg.
My guest, Grammy Award-winning singer, songwriter, actor, and overall music legend, Meatloaf. You know, we were talking during the break about all different kinds of songs, and you mentioned something having to do with Gershwin.
Right.
The reason that I'm going there is because I know that you're beginning on February the 13th. You're going to be in Vegas.
Right.
You're doing a show there, 24 dates at least right now.
Yes, right now. And my story a while ago tied into it, so I'm going to finish this one before you go to Gershwin.
Okay.
Then I'll lead us to Gershwin.
Good.
See, because I said the character Rabbit.
Because you have to get, I just want to let you know, eventually you have to end up at Fight Club.
Oh, okay. That's a piece of cake.
All right. No problem.
I can maneuver us there, no problem.
Great, I bet.
I'm really good at this. Trust me.
Go for it.
So, no, we were talking about Rabbit and how I brought him back around in circle. He's from Longview, Texas, Rabbit. And he worked in a gas. This is all his backstory. So I start the show off like this. No, because we've done
and
a
this
song.
is at Joseph Papp. This is
this is in Vegas. I said, no, please don't applaud now, because I know you're all coming here expecting a Vegas show. And I'm sorry to tell you, I ain't got a Vegas show. I ain't like all those shows over there on that strip over there, that Circus Olay stuff, No, I don't got that. And then I start telling what I don't have, and it appears behind me. So all the stuff I don't have
appears behind you.
Yeah, all the things I say. I don't have a juggler. I don't have any fire act. I don't have tumblers. I don't have this, and I don't have that, and they're all behind me. What's going on?
Wow.
And so people were flipped out when I laid that story out. I said, all this is going to happen, but the character's not going to know what's going on until the clowns. And then we have a whole thing with the clowns.
What's the whole thing with the clowns?
Well,
remember, you're taking me eventually to Fight Club.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to get you there.
Okay.
It's the clown, the old joke of the confetti in the bucket in the water. The second oldest joke in the world. After look over there.
Did you see clowns? Is this where your interest in acting and your interest in performing? Where did that originate?
I tell you how it originated. It's very interesting. I wanted to get out of study hall.
Where were you?
In Dallas.
Okay.
And back in the Stone Age, you'd go to school for 3 months at a time. And so they had like multiple study halls. So I just wanted to get out of them. So I went to the counselor.
When is this? What year are we talking about?
Oh, I don't know. It's like 1742 or something. So, 1963.
In Dallas.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I went to the second half of my sophomore year, and I said, I need to get out of study hall. Is there an elective I can take? She said, well, there's drama class. I said, put me in there. And I figured, well, I don't have to be quiet in there. So I went in the room not expecting to do anything. I sat in the back of the room like the old the hoods like Fonzie would have on Happy Days. And I got really into it. And that lit the fuse. And so acting is what I studied and what I know, from improv to, I just never did Shakespeare and wound up doing Shakespeare in the Park for Joe Papp, which was quite interesting.
Fight Club.
Fight Club. Well, I was going to get us there. It's just
we check that one
an hour
off.
And a half later. But what I was going to say, I would have run down the series of movies to get there. Fight Club. David Fincher directed, and remarkable experience. And we played a lot of poker in the downtime, and I took a lot of money off Brad Pitt. Well, not for Brad, but for me it was. So anyway, Fincher was amazing to work for, and I would work for him in a heartbeat for nothing. If they call me up and said, David wants you in a movie, we're not going to pay you anything, I say, okay, fine. I'd do it for nothing. Because working for David expanded my horizons again as an actor, brought out more, because David does so many takes. So you have to continually be creative. You can do, 6 or 7 takes going one way, and then you want to flip it off and try other things. And so I could, now when I do something and I don't get that many, I'm frustrated. Because, like, if you're doing TV, you might get 3 or 4 takes, maybe 5. So you have to decide what your choice is right then and there, and make it and go, okay, I think this is my best choice. And sometimes it's not, but you have to sink to it.
You got to do it.
Yeah, you got to do it.
You told me also that instead of watching the Grammys, you were
I was
getting ready for
watching the Hall of Fame game last night for pro football.
All right. So we're getting...
The reason I didn't turn on the Grammys, and I was going to flip back and forth. That was my plan. Watch some of the music stuff, because some people that I really love were on, Dave Grohl and different people. And but I went on the internet and went on USA Today, and they were showing people coming to the Grammys, and they had about 60 pictures up already, and I didn't know any of them. So I went, okay, well, I'm out of it, so I'm not even going to watch. I mean, later on, they had Taylor Swift and Madonna and different people showing up, and I would have known who they were, of course. But I didn't know any of the first 60, so I went, oh, boy, I'm out of it. I'm out of touch. I'm like my mother now.
You're like your mother now.
Yeah, I'm like my mother.
Well, it's not so bad.
No, it's not bad
That's
at all.
pretty good.
My mother was really smart. I wish to be that smart.
Your music. You making music?
Yeah, we're still recording. We're working on a record now. It's really slow, which is normal for me. And I've got some things with Jim Steinman again, which everybody was excited about. The opening track is called Braver Than We Are. And it's a Jim Steinman piece. It's 8 minutes long. Of course it's Jim Steinman. But on the record is Ellen Foley. On that song, Ellen Foley and Carla DeVito. Ellen Foley was the voice on Paradise on the record. On Bat was the voice of Paradise. And Carla was the young lady at the time that went out on tour with us. So everybody thinks it was Carla that sang it. And so Ellen, I think, has been upset for a few years because nobody, she doesn't get the recognition. And I get that. It's tough. That's a tough gig because, you just don't always get what you should get.
Or what you, well.
Yeah, you can't always get what you want. You get what you need, is to quote the Rolling Stones.
Your Super Bowl pick?
Well, now there's a whole thing with that Super Bowl pick. I have been around Peyton Manning a couple of times. How long we got?
This is it. You got to pick.
Okay, no, I can't pick. I've been around Peyton Manning I've met him a couple of 3 times at the Kentucky Derby.
Okay.
Really great guy. Him and Eli both really nice. Eli's shy. Peyton's not as shy. And Peyton, everybody counted him out. He has had a year that is like a fairy tale. I mean, of a quarterback. So I'm kind of rooting for Peyton, but also, oh God!
You're not an economist by any chance, are you?
An economist?
Yeah, on the one hand and on the other hand.
Oh yeah, I'm that way. Yeah,
okay.
Oh yeah, I ride the fence constantly.
Well, you know what?
But you can't pick this one.
Okay.
You can't pick this because number 1 offense versus number 1 defense, and I think the whole game is down to the running back for Seattle Seahawks.
All right.
Marshawn Lynch.
All right. We're going to watch it, and we'll be thinking about that. Thank you very much. Meatloaf, much appreciated.